Signore e signori, buonasera. Benvenuti alla Casa Italiana Zerilli-Marimò della New York University for the absolute premiere of this documentary by Barbara Cupisti, Exiles, Part 1, Wars. We will discuss with Barbara at the end of the film. We'll have a Q&A. And I just want to tell you something about why we are doing this documentary today. And of course, the best answer would be because we are timely. And we do things that are relevant to today's debate. But that would be a great answer, but it's not the true answer to this. And the true answer is basically that this presentation of tonight is part of a larger series of events that Rai Cinema is organizing in New York over these couple of weeks. The main occasion is that Rai Cinema, that is the most important, biggest producer of films in Italy, has donated to MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art, a selection of 10 of the best films produced in the past 15 years. So all films from the 21st century. You can go online on the site of MoMA because to celebrate this event, MoMA is showing these films, and it's a great chance for you to see them if you have not seen them before. Some of them had distribution in America, some of them didn't, some of them will have it. But anyway, at MoMA you can see these films in the best possible way, on a large screen, beautiful prints, restored, great subtitles. Really, you couldn't ask for anything more than what you have. And as a part of the presence of Rai Cinema in New York in these weeks, there are also connected events. And one of them that we are very, very proud to host here at Casa Italiana is the screening, and as I said, it's a premiere, of Barbara Cupisti's film Exiles, Part 1, Wars. I would like now to invite the director of the documentary to greet you. But we are going to have more time at the end of the film that lasts about an hour and 20 minutes for a Q&A with the director and with the president of Rai Cinema, Paolo del Brocco, who is also here with us tonight. Please welcome the director of the documentary, Barbara Cupisti.
Hi. Good evening. It's a pleasure for me to be here and to be hosted by Casa Italiana. And I am very happy to have here our Paolo del Brocco, Sandro Bartolozzi, that is the producer of the movie, and a lot of friends and a lot of people here tonight. This is an event because it's the premiere. It's the first time that this movie has been shown. And in 2 days, we'll have the first Italian screening of the 3 movies. This movie is part of a trilogy, 3 movies about refugees for different motivation. One is the war, and is the movie of tonight. The second one is for political or religious motivation, cause, and we took the Tibetan cause for that. So the second movie is Exile Tibet, and the third one is a movie about exiles, refugees for environmental motivation. And that movie will be, we shoot that in Brazil with the Indios Guarani of Mato Grosso del Sur, and in United States, in California for the drought. So these are the three movies, and I don't want to add anything more because I think that it's better to talk after. Okay? So thank you to you.
First of all, I want to thank Barbara for the courage in facing such a problem and for the way in which she did it. Many of us think of a documentary as a piece of cinema where there is a voiceover that constantly talks to you and explains things to you and repeats them when you probably did not understand them. And you made a completely different choice in this film. It's like a series of paintings, one after the other, that present the drama that these people are living through their words, but also through their faces. You tell a lot of stories through the bodies of the people that you encounter. So for that, I compliment and congratulate you, because it's a very original way, very courageous way of doing documentary. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Barbara Cupisti starts as a stage actress, a theater actress,
Also cinema.
and cinema. Così.
Yes, also in cinema.
And cinema. And then you had a period of your life in which you worked for television, for Rai, as an anchor woman in journalism programs and sort of approfondimento, new stories that go in deep into certain stories. And then you begin about 8 years ago to make documentaries.
Yeah.
And you don't shy away from difficult themes, and reading the list, the titles of the documentary you made, they go from the condition of people in jails in Italy and situations in different parts of the world that are very delicate, very complicated. But there are also signs of hopes that you gave in this documentary. For example, the one you were telling me about these Israeli soldier and Palestinian combatant, that after they finished their term serving respectively the Israeli army and the armed brigades of the Palestinians, they start peace organizations that each in a different way pursue a dream of peace for that land. Tell us how your interest for documentary as a form of cinematography is born. When did you decide that you would not be an actress anymore, that you would not be an anchor woman anymore, but you would make documentaries, all of them produced by Rai Cinema?
Yes, I have to thank Rai Cinema, Paolo, and there's also Carlo Brancaleoni, because I start with Carlo and this year, and if Carlo didn't give me that opportunity, I would never do it. And thank for Rai Cinema, because it's very difficult to be an actress and after decide to do it's not difficult to decide, it's difficult to find people that give you the opportunity to shift from being an actress to start this kind of films and this kind of subject. So especially if you are an actress, no one wants to. You must have a great courage to do that. And I have to say that without Rai, I could have never done it. So I am very thankful.
And Barbara, the topics of these films, we just mentioned a few. There are many more. But this is your 10th, right?
This is the 10th. This is my 10th.
If we consider the trilogy, these three
the trilogy
films,
is 10th.
Do you have any input on the topics of your documentaries from the outside, from your producers, from your collaborators, or is normally something that is born inside you from something that you see, from a piece of news that you hear?
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Sometimes it's from a music, sometimes it's, this is really present in me, and sometimes it's from some news. Sometimes I have also my companion, my husband that is working in this kind of issue, and sometimes we talk, and listening at what he's saying, I have ideas. But I have to say that when I met him, I was already doing these, and we met exactly for these. So it's sometimes, I read, I listen, I watch television, and sometimes there's few stories that take my attention, and especially when there are stories that are not told and not told in a very, deep way. I hate to see just news, or to see just numbers, And when you talk about refugees, you say, okay, 50 million, but no one understands what does it mean, what means to flee a place and to stay in a different country, So, and it's just numbers sometimes, and this is something that really I don't like, and I would like to enter, deeper. I have to say something that I say always. I do this also because I am a mother, and as mother, I feel the responsibility to investigate more the reality, to give this news, this information to my son, and I think that this is something that is especially typical feminine.
Yes.
Because we want to give stronger input to our kids sometimes.
We are going to go back to the theme of the refugees because we said it couldn't be more timely to present this film as a premiere in the US at a time in which, for the first time in their history, they're called to accept, after World War II obviously, they're called to accept refugees. And it's a ridiculously small number of refugees that the United States have accepted to welcome. And still there is, as we all know, a group of governors in this country that refused resolutely, including one that is neighboring New York State, that we will not mention, that said that he's not even willing to welcome a 5-year-old orphan. I know. So this really, it's an issue that mette a nudo, like strips down everything we're covered with to reveal the essence of the human being that is inside us. And we're going to go back to the theme in a minute. But since we have the fortune of having here Paolo del Brocco, that, as we heard, is the president of Rai Cinema, and therefore the producer of this documentary. A question about Rai Cinema and documentaries. In the choice of the 10 films that Rai Cinema has donated to MoMA recently, there is at least one documentary that is Sacro Gra. We had the director of the film here not too long ago. And Sacro Gra is the first documentary film that won the Venice Film Festival with Best Film. It was a sort of a revolutionary thing. It never happened before. It was always a feature film that won. And in Venice at that time, I believe the president of the jury was Bernardo Bertolucci, if I remember correctly, decided to award Rosi with the Leone d'Oro for Best Film, for a documentary film. Gra is the initial grande raccordo anulare of the highway that surrounds Rome and connects it. So this was produced by Rai Cinema. So what is the role of Rai Cinema in promoting high-level documentaries that don't shy away from complicated situations and politically delicate situations like the films of Barbara or Sacro Gra?
First of all, we are not a real producer. I thank you, Sandro Bortolozzi and Clipper Media, of course, and all the team. And then let me say that to remember everybody that this kind of producing line was invented, was created by our the ex-president, former president Franco Scaglia, who passed away just a few months ago, and we miss him very much. And then there is Carlo Brancaleoni, who started this producing line of documentary, and he followed also the Sacro Gra, no? If I remember well. And now in charge of this production is Paola Malanga and Gabriele Giunino, who followed Barbara in the last, in this trilogy. After that, Rai Cinema is a company who produced for Rai Television, is a branch of Rai Television which produced Italian movies, Italian cinema, but we have a part of our budget, a small part, but we try to do the best of the budget, and we decided, Franco Scaglia decided some years ago to launch a new producing line about documentary, about cinema della realtà, reality. I don't know how it's possible to translate.
Literally,
they are not properly documentaries or TV documentary. This is this kind of documentary, so they are movie. And our line is to show issue about social problems, about religion, about politics, about spirituality. These are those are the main issue we with all the big directors and the young directors we have in this producing line. We want to tell to people, to say to people, and we can use the theaters and television and the home video and all the new platforms. So I think that this kind of movies can reach many people in a different way. Also small target, because also the small target, we as a public service television, we have to reach all the target. Also small target have their dignity.
Thank you very much. And to go back to your target and to the discussion also that we were having at the Italian Cultural Institute regarding the role of private money invested in the production and public money like Rai represents. What is really interesting is that I believe it's your mandate as somehow managing Rai Cinema as an organization on behalf of the Italian public. You respond to them in some way. They are your stakeholders.
Yes, they are the stakeholders. The people are stakeholders of Rai, and so the Rai Cinema too. Yes, we have a responsibility. To tell the stories, different genres, different languages, different kind of production, and I think that this is what we are going to do, and we are trying to do, and I think it's going quite well. Sometimes some movie that don't go out very don't become very good, but it's cinema, so it can happen. But about documentaries, it's very difficult that we fail a documentary. This is a big goal for us, and it's also we are proud about
and
it.
There's also a tendency in Italy, right? A tendency, more interest in documentaries, whereas before it was almost impossible to see a documentary in a movie theater. Now it's not an explosion of interest, but there is definitely a difference that there are documentaries that are shown in theaters.
Yes, but I think it also for the people can have habits to see, to watch different products and this kind of movie, of films. Of course, if you give something like this to people, many people can have the opportunity to screen it, to see it. If Rai Cinema, in this case, wouldn't have produced this kind of products, of course, this product probably never.
So Clipper Media and Rai Cinema are to thank for this very, very courageous operation. And I wish I had this film to show to my fellow citizens. I come from a small town in the province of Mantua called Bozzolo, and I wrote a post on Facebook. It had like 700 likes, and people like from Mary De Luca to others commented on it. The town was given about a dozen refugees from Syria by the government that decided that there was a structure, they identified it, there was a non-profit that took care of them and everything else. And as soon as the news spread, I was shocked by the reaction of ignorance, sheer racism. People did not know anything about where these people came from. And at first I was very angry with my fellow citizens for this reaction. I'm used to think that my hometown is the perfect hometown, where people feel a sense of solidarity, of belonging to the human race, that feel ties to each other. So I was very disappointed and angry at them. And then I realized that really the issue was the ignorance. I wish I had this film to show to them, to show where these 12 kids from 16 to 20 years old are coming from, what they encountered, and to hear their stories. That's what needs to be done. And of course, that doesn't at all imply that the government shouldn't do checkings and control and all these kind of things. But what really angered me was how much ignorance determined positions that were unacceptable. And I think what you're doing with this film is really, I'm telling you, or better, I'm letting these people telling you their stories. You need to know where they come from, and you need to know what they run away from. If you know what they run away from, you're not going to write stupid comments like, oh, they just came on a vacation, or they prefer a 4-star hotel to the 3 stars that they had at their place. But this is something that needs to be done. And,
I think when we did this movie, it was exactly for that. And I have to say that this movie, you see, they are talking about a free army of Syria, because this is before Daesh and before ISIS, ISIS came there. But when we were shooting this movie and we were in the middle of that, we understood with Sandro, we understood, and with Matteo that was accompanying us also, we understood immediately where it could have drive, because we knew these people were living from something. And if you imagine now, can you imagine what is the horrible situation now? They just escaped from this massacre, and they have the same massacre done by Daesh inside their country now. So, because this is the problem. They were people, now Daesh entered just saying that they want to help them, but this is not true. It was all another situation. And these people are in the middle of something that is totally destroying themselves. And so they are trying to escape, not just from their land, now they are trying to escape from refugees camp, because you have seen which are the situation, especially the two universitarian students. They were so, destroyed. They have their life totally destroyed, and they would like and they deserve to come in a Western country and be helped to finish their studies and to start their own life. So it's so horrible to hear people here and also in Europe with the last news that after the terroristic attack, there's this enormous number of racism that is raising up, But even before it was like that, because there's this kind of fear that these people come to take your, the few things that you are able to put together, because we have economical crisis and whatever. But
they're coming to steal Christmas.
Still Christmas, yes.
It's the war against Christmas.
Yeah, so you are totally right. And I think that the importance of this project, and of all the projects that we are doing, is exactly that. And I am really, I would love to have the opportunity to screen that in the school, in university, and, in this kind of place, because this is more important, because education is the stronger weapon that we have.
Barbara, two short questions about the other two parts of the trilogy. Because if we say it's a trilogy, you mentioned briefly.
So the second one is about Tibet.
And it's about religious-based persecution and ethnic-based persecution.
But Tibetan, I use Tibet because Tibetan in exiles are an example for all the other people living in exile.
And we can reveal what is not a secret, that your husband is very much involved in the cause of Tibetan freedom.
Yeah.
So what you were saying
I did before he was involved in that. Yes. No, we were, and I have to say also that here you have Molly Rodriguez, and she is also involved with Matteo. And,
so in that case, whereas here there is a large part of the documentary that we saw is about Nigeria, but then there are also other situations, Palestine and so on.
Yeah.
In the second documentary, you concentrate on
Just
Tibet
concentrate
as a
on
case
Tibet
study.
because I wanted to show that there's an opportunity to live outside your country in dignity, and building, something different. Because what Tibetans are doing outside their country is they just try to keep their culture together, to come si dice, preservare, preserve. To preserve their language, to preserve their culture. And all this is possible because of His Holiness. That is, His Holiness, and is leading His people. But I wanted to show that.
The moral stature of the Dalai Lama that is setting an example.
Is setting a right and good example for them, so everybody's following his teachings and everybody's trying to preserve because in Tibet they cannot speak Tibetan, they cannot they cannot practice their religion. And this movie, I understood that if you ask two people what's happening in Tibet, they don't even know. They just think that His Holiness Dalai Lama is traveling around, spreading Buddhism.
Jet-setting celebrity.
Yeah, spreading Buddhism.
Yeah,
but they don't know really that from where they are escaping and what's happened. So that one is focused on that.
And the third one is very interesting because we would expect when you talk about refugees and exile and misplaced people that war and religious persecution or ethnic persecution, as we have seen painfully in the past, would be definitely categories that fit. But you tackle a new category that is refugees that are escaping from their place of origin because of environmental problems.
Problems, yes. This is not me. It's United Nations, UNHCR. That is a new category and is increasing each year. And there's an estimation that is saying that in 2025, I don't remember exactly the number because I am terrible with numbers, but these numbers of refugees for environmental problems will become incredible if you see what's going on with the pollution, with disaster.
And of course, this is very strictly connected to the whole issue of climate change.
The climate disaster, I wanted to say that.
And in this case, you said you concentrated on the Guarani?
I am, all the time I have to find one story that can be like, an example for all the others. We cannot talk about the thousands and thousands of environmental conflicts because there's also environmental conflict. For example, Guarani is not a natural disaster. It's an environmental conflict. Environmental conflict because Brazilian government sold Mato Grosso del Sur, the land of Mato Grosso del Sur, at many industry. I don't know what's the name of just a lot of come si dice.
Multinationals?
Multinationals, yes. Sorry. Multinationals.
And just as a parenthesis, the Guarani are the same Indians that are featured in the film The Mission.
Yeah,
so there is a long story that dates back to the 16th, 17th century when the Jesuits tried to do the reducciones.
Absolutely. That's exactly.
So they are the descendants
and Guarani
of these people.
Kiowa are the one that didn't accept the Catholic Church and the Catholic religion. So they are less than all the others. So we went in that place because Brazilian government sold the land and to the farmers and to the people, to the multinational that were arriving over there without saying them that inside this land there were thousands of people. So when they arrived over there and they start to cut the trees, because if you think that since the 1980 till today, the 80% of the forest has been destroyed. When we arrived with Sandro, we arrived over there and we were thinking to be in Padania because mato means forest, and there was no mato at all. We were driving in nothing, an enormous land, plains, with cows, wonderful, beautiful place. With Sandro, we were saying, oh, look, how beautiful is this country. But after we realized that there could have been a forest. Where is the forest? So they destroyed all that, and the people that were inside the forest, that decide to deport them inside reserve, as American Indians happened. The problem there is that they didn't accept to stay there, because they were used to stay in enormous land since all their stories, so they couldn't. And for this, they have an incredible high number of suicide and whatever. So they decide to take back their land and to do retomadas, to go back. And in that moment, these environmental conflicts start. This is an incredible conflict because they are killing each day now also an incredible number of Indians over there. And no one talks about that because we have economical, interest in all that. So this is one conflict that is totally, hidden by everyone.
Thank you, Barbara.
I just want to say about this. In that movie, in the third one, at the beginning of the movie, you have a village that when we were shooting that, it was what, April this year, this village doesn't exist anymore because facenderos, the farmers, arrive over there and they burn everything. And there's a couple of kids and girls inside that movie that disappear. And after a few months, few days, when it was 1 month ago, something like that, this another village of the one that we were filming is disappeared totally because they destroyed everything. So this is the reality of what we are doing.
Exiles.
Yeah.
I think now we can open the floor if there are questions from our audience. Yes, Alexo.
First of all, I want to thank you. Today you made me really, really proud to be Italian by seeing this documentary. And I think that you should donate this one to Mona. And request that one shown every month.
We are ready to donate if Paolo wants.
My question is the structure of the documentary, starting with Africa and going to Syria and finishing with Palestine, has a reason because we see as Palestine is now a 67 years old camp. So do you think that that structure is going to apply to even Africa and Syria?
Exactly. I did in this way because it was, I want to be optimistic and I really would like, but what the story tells us. Have you seen the refugee camp now are buildings and are part of towns. They are inside towns. They are camped inside, not camped, no camp anymore. But the people over there are still refugees. So this is an incredible, strange situation that is growing up. And the lady at the end was saying that this critical mass of people living without documents, living without rights, living without land, struggling for being recognized in somehow, they are potentially very dangerous. Not dangerous because they want to be dangerous, but if you imagine the people, have you seen the people at the beginning of the movie, the Somali people? They have absolutely nothing to do. They cannot even go out from the camp. So imagine if ISIS go over there saying to one of these kids, I give you $20,000, that for them is, and I let your mother coming back in Somalia, giving her house. Why don't you go in a country doing, they are all potential, and why that? Because we don't take action, because we don't move, we don't even want to do something more. We don't care, that's the problem. And there's the director of UNHCR in Jordan. That is an Australian one, and he was really saying what's the truth, that we, the Western, we don't really care. We care in a very light way, you know. We think that it's enough to donate something sometimes, but it's not just a question of money, it's a question of conscience, I think. So, yeah, and the idea of the structure, it was that, I'm sorry, but it was what I was thinking at that moment.
That is the power of your documentary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to say to Barbara and to Sandro and Rai Cinema, it's a brilliant, brilliant film. And part of the greatness of the documentary is being the right story at the right time. And given what's going on in this country, as of even this morning, it's so incredibly timely that I have to commend you, because I think it's going to have a significant impact, really, in shaping consciousness here and abroad. So I think it's a remarkable film.
Thank you. Yes, we have time for one more question. The gentleman.
These movies are going to be a donation to MoMA.
Not this specific one. The donation to MoMA is 10 films. There are 9 feature films and 1 documentary. It's a bit.
To follow up on her
Yes.
idea is, do you plan, I think it's very worthwhile to show this across the United States, because it has a great educational value. As you said, in Italy there's a bit of racism going on, but this country as well needs the same kind of education.
I passed the
If you can do something about it, it's going to have
We'd love to. We'd love to. Of course, we can show the documentary. We can show the movie. Then, as you know, we needed an American distributor. We cannot. We can show, but we need someone who likes and who loves this team, this movie, and then he managed to distribute in US and also in other countries, of course. This is our hope, and we will work hard on it. And because we want this kind of films are some kind universal. They're not in, okay. With the daughter is Italian, but
Yeah.
could be, I don't know, American
Yeah.
or so I hope, I really hope that it's possible to distribute in US, but not just in US, all over the world, and we will work on this issue.
And I think that, you know, all of us can do something on social media and pressure and asking the normal channels through which you see your documentaries and your films to acquire it. It's at the very beginning, because the film we saw tonight for the first time, and it's going to be officially presented in Milan, the whole trilogy, in 2 days. So it's at the very beginning, but there is still also, talk about the documentary you've seen tonight, post the trailer on your Facebook page or on Twitter, let people start talking, discussing, making it part of a larger discourse. That's the best way to start this process. We need buyers, but we also need to build a collective consciousness. And Dottor,
Our goal.
yes,
This is our goal.
Dottor De Brocco, lei trovi I compratori. You must find the buyers. But what we all can do is to contribute to create this collective consciousness that Barbara represented in such a fantastic way. And once again, thank you to Paolo De Brocco, Rai Cinema, Clipper Media, and Barbara Cupisti.
Thank you. Thank you to Mr. Albertini for having us. Thank you very much to give us the possibility, to Barbara and to the producer to show this documentary tonight. Thank you very much.